Hey, I'm Shadow, and this is my podcast, Anything But the Music, where I talk to musicians, whether they're local, regional, national, about something other than music. So there's not going to be any questions about what's your favorite song to perform, what inspired you to write these lyrics, and definitely know what is your creative process like. I want to hear about anything but the music. Today with me is Kyle Konkiel, which has a very hard to pronounce last name. Probably know him as the bass player from a little band called Bad Wolves and formerly of In This Moment, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Kyle, I hear that you are a collector of things, and I do want to get into that. I want to know about all these things that you collect. But first, I want to talk about something that I found on the interwebs. I want to talk about this Meathook Massacre Part 6. Came out in 2020. Obviously, there was 5 before that, and meat hooks kind of scare me. But is acting on your resume?
Only mildly. My friend Jenny, who is kind of like a D horror movie celebrity,
Uh-huh.
she had asked me if I wanted to be in a movie, and they weren't going to pay me anything. They were just going to give me an IMDb credit for it. And I think I filmed for maybe an hour, 2 max. And yeah, my scene is at the end of the movie. I think it's like the last 10 or 15 minutes. And spoiler, I get murdered.
I was gonna ask, is there gonna be a spoiler? Are you getting murdered? Um, yeah, I'm not a big scary movie fan. I'm more
Oh,
of like
this isn't scary.
it's not. No, it's more. Just,
I mean, it's it's kind of just like, film buffs just making their own movies. And there was a few, like the original Meathook Massacre was definitely like an 80s slasher movie, and it's kind of like a little bit of a running joke now. But they just love making cheesy horror movies, and they're not very scary, they're not super gory. Everything is majorly practical. No CGI, but it's like not even like like latex and stuff like that type of practical. It's like weird props that you find at like a Halloween store, and like blood capsules.
do you know where you can even go to find said movie to watch it?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime, and I think it's free. It's only like 90 minutes, so it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I did see that. And yes, you did definitely get your credit on IMDb because that's where I found the information. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, this is pretty interesting. So, all right. Well, you kind of sent me the email. You said you're a collector of shoes, shirts, video games, and movies. And I'm like, okay, where to start? And I guess since we talked about a movie, we can talk about the movies that you collect. Are you a collector of DVDs? And
Yeah, I mean DVDs, high definition Blu-ray whenever they come out. Me and Doc, my guitar player in Bad Wolves, are kind of the sci-fi aficionados of the band, and he and I like to watch movies together on tour. So, but I've always just been kind of like a movie buff, for science fiction, fantasy,
yeah,
everything from Alien to Harry Potter. So.
yeah, I'm definitely more into the fantasy realm. Usually my Thanksgiving consists of the Lord of the Rings, all extended versions. And I just watch them back to back for 13 hours straight. It's like,
Yeah, my other guitar player calls me a hipster because I don't really like uh Lord of the Rings that much, and the only Star Wars movies I watch are the original unedited trilogy.
okay,
Star Wars.
man, I can't believe you don't like Lord of the Rings.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I've probably watched the first Lord of the Rings movie like 4 or 5 times trying to get into it, and it did nothing for me.
Huh. Did you ever read the books?
No.
Okay.
I have a really terrible reading comprehension problem.
Oh,
So if there's anything that's like bigger than a comic book, I have to do audiobooks because I can't remember it. So
oh,
I'll read like 2 or 3 pages and I'll be like, I have no idea what I just read. So I usually do audiobooks or comic books.
All right. All right. So then what when it comes to video games, are we talking PC, PS5, Xbox? Is there a certain console you like to stay on, or is it just everything old school, new school? Are you collecting old consoles?
Um, I have a few old consoles. I have my original Super Nintendo. I have my original Nintendo 64. Uh,
Yes.
Mainly, I've been into a lot of these new handheld emulators.
Okay.
So there's a few companies out there that make emulators that have everything from the original Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, to PlayStation 1. So I've been going around on Amazon and trying a bunch of different um, of these emulators, and I know there's like the Mio one, um, and then I forget the other one I have. I want to say Amber, but it's not Amber. Um, but basically, it's just you get these handhelds. They look like Game Boys.
Okay.
Let me see if I can grab mine real quick.
I
Hang
was
on.
gonna say I've never heard of an emulator before, and I'm gonna have to go and Google that because seems pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, hang on. I think it's here somewhere.
And this is why I like doing video too, so you can show me things like this. Is this something that I'm gonna have to buy my 12-year-old kid down the road?
I don't know. I can't find it right now.
Dang it. Well, there's always Google.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, they look like Game Boys, right?
Yeah.
And
Or what about like a Switch? Does it like kind of look like a Nintendo
they
Switch?
have ones that kind of look like Switches.
Okay.
Um, those are some of the newer ones that came out in 2023 that have, I think it's up to PS2 games on it.
Okay.
But yeah, it just looks like a Game Boy and it has everything from NES to PlayStation 1, and they all have different games and different operating systems that you can upgrade and add different games and stuff to them later on down the line. But you have to obviously get more memory for it. But yeah, so a lot of it is new school with kind of like old school games. And obviously have a PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 5. I've got a Nintendo Switch. And I'm getting into the handheld PC gaming. I just ordered a Stream Deck.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Steam Deck. Steam Deck, which is it's basically it looks like a Nintendo Switch, but it's a little bit bigger, but you can play PC games on it.
Okay. Yeah, my kid right now is getting into PC games and stuff like that. It just makes it. Are they legal?
Yeah.
Like, because like there's certain licensing things that it's kind of like going on to eBay and buying. They're gonna sell you 50 games for $50, and they're just copies of the game. It's probably not licensed correctly, but you do it anyway because you're getting 50 games for $50.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are they might not be original ports, so like that's like it might not be exactly how you played it on whatever system of the game that you're playing. But I mean, they sell them on Amazon, and granted, most of these companies are Chinese,
Yeah.
but I don't think they'd be able to sell them on Amazon if they weren't legal.
Yeah, I guess so. The way you talk about this, you make me kind of think you might be like quite techie. Are you? Can you do you know your way around all these gaming systems and PCs and whatnot? Or
PCs, no.
okay,
I'm a Mac. I'm very integrated into the Apple world. Unfortunately,
once you're in, you can't get out.
yeah. I mean, everything I have, my watch, my phone, my computer, my tablet, everything is integrated into iOS. And I mean, I have my moments when it comes to being techie. Um, but I'm not like a super tech nerd or anything. I do enjoy tech gadgets and little things that make my life a little bit easier. But other than that, I'm not like I'm not like those '90s movies where it's like the hacker dude. He's like, I'm in. I'm not that guy.
Oh, all right. So, collector of shoes and shirts. How
Yes.
big, how big is your closet, sir?
Well, it's so big that it's now in a storage unit.
Oh my. All right. So, funny thing, I just had one of these podcasts with Joey Walser, Joey Chicago of Pop Evil, And he actually makes custom shoes, and that's what we talked about was his custom shoes. They're really cool. But is it any particular? Are you like, do you want the Nike Air Force One? See, I don't know anything about shoes.
Yeah.
I'm a girl, and I just buy a bunch of shoes and don't care what brand they are.
Yeah, so, when I joined the band in 2017, we kind of had, I wouldn't say a uniform, but a suggested type of, what we should wear on stage.
Oh,
And at the time, everybody was wearing, Air Jordan 1s. So when I went to my first photo shoot for the band, they gifted me a pair of Air Jordan 1s,
aren't those
which
like pretty expensive shoes? Aren't those like kind of hard to get?
2017, you could still get them for under $100 depending on
Oh,
what
okay.
it was. They gifted me a pair of Air Jordan 1s, and that kind of lit a fire in my. I've a very obsessive type of personality. So once I get into something, I need to do and know everything about it.
Right.
So from that point on, I was getting into. I would look up, on these shoe apps, be it StockX or Goat, or these Instagram pages that are like dedicated to sneakerheads or whatever. And I just started learning all about the different types of sneakers. What are OGs, what are re-releases, what are
Right.
and I think I have probably 20 pairs of Air Jordan 1s right now.
Wow.
I have about 5 pairs of Air Jordan 3s, and I have about 6 pairs of Air Jordan 4s, one of which was a super sought after shoe that I wasn't anticipating to be a super sought after shoe, because I was able to get it very easily for not a lot of money.
Right.
And for a shoe that I bought for under $200 last year was worth 1900.
Oh my gosh. Do you wear these or do you just display them?
No, no, you're supposed to wear your shoes. I wear all my shoes.
That's good.
Um,
That's good.
but nobody knew. No, you can't. It's a kind of like having certain shoes is like having a stock market. Like you can kind of guess, what may or not be popular down the road. But there was no. We call it heat. There was no heat on these pair I have, which are the Air Jordan 4 Black Cats. They're all black, which
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, that fits my aesthetic. Yeah, I totally love it. There wasn't really a lot of heat behind it, and I didn't see anybody posting about it. I'm like, how? I was like, why are these being slept on so hard right now? And I was able to get them. And I remember I was walking around in Las Vegas. I was there for about 6 weeks doing a job, and this kid comes up to me. He's like, "Bro, where'd you get those Black Cats?" And I was like, "I got them. I got them release day." And they're like, "You got retail for those?" And I was like, "Yep." And I didn't get it until I went to a sneaker store at the mall next door, and everyone was just like, "Bro, where'd you get those Black Cats? Where'd you get those Black Cats?" And I look at a pair of the exact shoe I'm wearing in a sneaker store, and they're $1,000, and I'm just like,
Wow.
it really depends. Like I said, it's like the stock market. You never really know what's going where, and so, but I do wear all of my shoes. So with the extensive collection of Jordans I have, I do have a lot of Osiris's as well, because Osiris and I teamed up last year, and I think they've sent me probably 12 or 15 pairs of shoes since then.
Nice.
So I wear those on stage and music videos and stuff like that, because they were so generous, and they gave me anything from like early 2000 style shoes in the D3s to more modern stuff in high tops.
Yeah, a little bit of product placement love. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. So my son asked me for a pair of Air Jordan 3s. So
Mhm.
like it kind of perked up and then you had mentioned this website or app or whatnot, Goat. Is now I'm asking you for personal advice so that I can maybe try to find him these shoes. Is there any other, like there's Goat, is there any other like reputable shoe places, like online where I can order these shoes?
You can get the sneakers app. I know that there is plenty of sizes in a new Air Jordan 3 that just came out not too long ago. But
Yeah.
it's SKNRS. or
Okay.
SNKRS. I can't remember. It's the Nike sneakers app. If you Google it, that'll pop up.
Okay.
I also do use StockX, but I know
That's it.
people have been giving StockX a lot of kind of a hard time lately because they've been selling reps. Reps are basically a nice word for fakes.
Yeah. Oh,
Um, yeah.
yeah.
So I in my time using StockX, I have never gotten a pair of fake shoes. Um, but I know that there have been people who have like, oh, I got these from StockX, for a good price. And you go to a sneaker convention to try to sell them for more than what you paid. And they're like, bro, these are fake.
Right.
So
So
I say if you see something price wise that's too good to be true, it definitely is.
I was just going to ask that if you see something, yeah, like, well, yeah, definitely wouldn't want a pair of fakes. And me, I would definitely not know the difference just by looking at them on a screen. So, what about shirts? Collector of shirts? Are we talking band shirts? Are we talking?
Yeah. So movie shirts, band t-shirts. I do a lot of bootlegs of late 80s, early 90s tour shirts.
Oh yeah,
Um, but I buy from these companies who do limited edition drops that are kind of like they make these movie t-shirts that are, they're for the most part they're not officially, licensed, so they can't sell them for too long or else they'll get a cease and desist.
right.
But one of the company that I've been dealing with for a really long time is called Posters, like for t-shirts and stuff like that. So I've been buying from Ruck and Fountain, and then my buddy Eric D has a company called Meth Syndicate. He does a lot of funny mashup t-shirts.
Okay.
Like he did a New Balance logo and on a t-shirt, and underneath it said Nickelback. He does that. So but there's a lot of companies out there that do it. There's Boot Hammer, Slaughter Bootlegs, and besides all the movie t-shirts and stuff like that. Like I said, I have a bunch of White Zombie, got a bunch of Faith No More bootlegs, Nine Inch Nails bootlegs for tours that I was not even old enough to attend.
No.
But a lot of the actual shirts from those time periods are going from anywhere from $500 to $700, even upwards of more than that.
Yeah.
So why spend all that money when I can get a shirt that looks pretty much the same for $35?
And unlike shoes, nobody's really going to know the difference.
I mean, if you're into t-shirts and you see me wearing a Pretty Hate Machine long sleeve, that's supposed to be a tour t-shirt, it's obviously not a real tour t-shirt. And there's some of them, you can't really tell the difference. But I mean, for the most part, I don't, uh, not not as the same as shoes. People don't really care if you're wearing bootleg t-shirts.
Right.
Like I've given all these bands a lot of my money. I've bought official, merchandise from every band that I've ever worn a t-shirt for.
Right.
Records, CDs, tickets, whatever. But if I find something that I was like, they're never going to reprint this, I'm still bringing awareness to the brand or the band, and I don't feel that terrible about it.
Yeah, that I'm gonna go check that out. Even the fact that you just mentioned the Pretty Hate Machine, like I would love. I mean, I probably am old enough to have seen all of those bands, back in the '90s and whatnot. So,
Yeah,
and back then, I was so poor that I couldn't afford a concert T-shirt, even though back in the day, they were only $20, maybe sometimes 15. So,
yeah. I mean, I would love to have an original 1990 Pretty Hate Machine tour t-shirt, but
yeah.
I'm not going to spend $750 on a t-shirt that is almost as old as I am and is just falling apart.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so well, that was super interesting. Now I just learned about all these. Like you taught me a lot in this chat. I'm gonna go check out these. What were the handhelds called again? You called them
Oh,
some.
just emulators. There's the Mio. It's MIYOO. I mean,
Yeah.
if you just look up handheld emulator, it'll give you a couple different brands. One, I can't remember the one I actually have. Um, I'll have to email it to you when I find it, but I know that there's the Mio Mini, the Mio Mini Plus, and then there's the brand that I have, which I want to say is something like Amber, but I can't remember it right now.
Yeah. If you remember, like, just snap a picture of it and shoot it my way. I
Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
want to see those, and
They're
I
like
definitely
80, they're like $80 and they're super easy to get.
it's not bad at all. And I definitely want to check out some of these bootlegged shirt websites. I'm sure. Do I just Google bootleg shirt?
No,
Bootleg.
I mean, honestly, just go to my Instagram page and look for shirt companies.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. That works. I was stalking your Instagram earlier, so I think I know where that is. All right. So I just want to simply end this podcast with some quick rapid fire questions. These are just fun, stupid questions. Answer freely. Favorite pizza topping?
Olives, black olives.
Nice. Best binging show or movie?
Oh man, best binging show or movie. I mean, Harry Potter 1 or The X-Files.
I love the X Files. All right, you just went higher up on my list. Best cereal on the market.
They don't make it anymore, unfortunately. Waffle Crisp, you can get it on Amazon sometimes, but Waffle Crisp or O's. But you know, if you don't have any of those, Fruity Pebbles is just fine.
What what was it called? Waffle what?
Waffle Crisp.
Why does that sound familiar, but I can't place it in my head?
Real big in the mid 90s. They were waffle shaped crisps, and the milk tasted like maple syrup
Nice.
afterwards.
All right. What one word do you have a hard time pronouncing?
Probably.
Yep, there it is. And what dish do you cook the best? If you cook.
Oh, breakfast sandwiches.
Really?
Yes.
Like what would you put on a breakfast sandwich?
So usually I get a nice brioche from the bakery.
Nice.
I put a little mayonnaise on that and toast the sides. And I do a French style omelet, which means that there's no brown whatsoever, low and slow. And I fill that with chopped onions, cheese, and I top it with salt, pepper, and parsley. And then I do a nice sage sausage, which if I'm feeling really, really fancy, I'll grind it myself. And that goes right on there. A little bit more cheese between the egg and the sausage. And I usually do a little bit of mayo ketchup and hot sauce.
Damn, you just made me hungry. And something tells me you actually know your way around a kitchen.
A little bit, kind of. There's a few things that I am very upset. Eggs were always really hard for me as a kid,
Yeah.
and I kind of figured out how to cook them to the way I like them. I can't cook them the way other people like. I can cook an egg pretty much any way. There are ways I prefer not to cook them. Poaching sucks, but I will do it if I have to. But yeah, there's just certain things, chicken, steak, eggs. That's pretty much it. And I can, stir fry some vegetables or sear some vegetables.
That's you're like the second person besides my husband who has said that about eggs. My husband, like, he's got this weird relationship with eggs to where he hated them as a kid. And then like somehow as an adult has learned to tolerate them in a sense, like probably wouldn't eat them alone or anything like that. But if you doctor them up with cheese and ham and peppers and stuff like that, he's good to go.
I never really had like a weird relationship with it, only with cooking them.
Oh, just cooking them.
Yeah, just cooking them. And through just experience and a few people that I knew who taught me, they're like, all right, this is what you do, this is what you do. And one of my friends makes probably even to this day makes the best scrambled eggs I've ever had. And they were like, all right, you have to do it like this, and you have to make sure that your pan's hot enough and make sure that it's a whole science.
Please ask your friend for that recipe and send with emulator. Just I'm still trying to figure out how to make the perfect scrambled eggs. Have not perfected that art, but Thank you so much for being on Anything But the Music. I actually, every time I do these, man, I learn so much and just so many things I want to go check out now after we're done talking. So, Kyle, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, join us. Well, I would say next week, but not next week. In a week after that, join us on Anything But the Music. I'm Shadow with Q102.